Setting the stage for the Civil War was the nullification crisis. Now, this was a controversial topic at the time because it was biased and favored the North over the South. Basically, it was a nationwide tariff. A tariff is a tax on imported goods. Okay, so imagine you're at the store and you're going to get a Ford 150 stand-up forklift. There are two types of this good, the one made in China and the American one. Now, the Ford 150 stand-up forklift from China is $2 and the American one is $5. But tariff would make the Chinese one $7. Now, imagine being a farmer who wants farming gear, and suddenly the cheaper one from Europe is much more expensive, and the expensive one from America is, well, still expensive, but doesn't cost as much as the European one. This was biased because it helped northern goods in the market, but made the South pay more. Because Britain stopped paying for southern cotton, South Carolina was angry, so it passed a nullification law saying that the tariff doesn't affect them and threatened to succeed. So Andrew Jackson got angry and threatened to declare war, which pushed back the Civil War by a bit.
Part 2. Missouri Compromise. What makes tensions set by the nullification crisis worse was the Missouri Compromise. Missouri wanted to be a slave state, but there was already an even number of slave and free states. If Missouri joined as a slave state, it was imbalanced, which can affect votes. So, the compromise was that Missouri will be a slave state, and everything under 36 degrees and 30 degrees north latitude would also be a slave, and above, free. This led to further division of the country.
Part 3. States' rights. The main thing that the South wanted was states' rights, essentially the amount of power a state has, and one of the hottest topics up for debate in this category was slaves. The South wanted slaves so that states could decide for themselves whether they wanted slaves or not, and this led to the Civil War because of further division between the North and the South over the matter.
Compromise of 1850. Henry Clay, who also happens to be the guy who made the Missouri Compromise, allowed California to join as a free state. The reason the South agreed was because of the Fugitive Slave Act, marking every single person hiding or helping runaway slaves would be considered a criminal and fined. This act also meant that slaves would have to be returned to the South if found, and that they are not even safe even after reaching the free states. This angered many, as there was now an imbalance of power between the free and slave states.
Dred Scott case. In 1857, there was a man named Dred Scott. He lived in a free state for a long period of time, and he came back to a slave state. The slave state said that he was free. And that was basically the end of that. Then they said he wasn't free, so he filed a lawsuit, where the Supreme Court said that he couldn't sue because he was a slave. This led to more division between the North and the South, because of the people who wanted Dred Scott to win and the people. Election of 1860. Republican Abraham Lincoln was elected president. Despite his name not being on the ballot in the South, he still pulled through, and for many southern states, this was the last straw. They believed that Lincoln would abolish slavery, so southern states voted one by one to succeed.
Debate over secession in Georgia. A debate in the Georgia General Assembly was created. This would determine if Georgia secedes or doesn't. There were strong supporters for both sides, but in the end, it was 208-89 in favor for seceding.